Good evening. Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has dismissed the United States' plan to remove and resettle Palestinians from Gaza as foolish, claiming it will go nowhere. Now, this comes as Iran is gearing up to receive a visit both from the Emir of Qatar, a key player in negotiations with Hamas, and the Secretary General of the Palestinian Islamic Jihad movement. So, what is Iran's grand plan, and what impact is Tehran likely to have as we enter a critical period for international relations? Well, tonight we speak with an analyst in Tehran for an up-to-date Iranian view, both on Gaza and wider US foreign policy. But first, Giles Gibson has this report from Tel Aviv.
Well, Guy, regional players are starting to move through the gears, not just pushing back against US President Donald Trump's plans for Gaza, but also actually putting together an alternative strategy for the enclave. Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Khamenei met with the leader of the Palestinian militant group Islamic Jihad on Tuesday, once again dismissing President Trump's plans, saying that they will go nowhere. Meanwhile, Arab countries are also lining up behind a plan that's being put together by Egypt for the future of Gaza. Saudi Arabia, Jordan, the United Arab Emirates and Egypt expected to meet later this week in Riyadh for talks, finalizing details of this plan ahead of an Arab League summit that we're expecting to take place in early March. Now, this plan is still really being discussed behind closed doors, but some details are starting to emerge. According to reports, 3 safe areas would be set up inside Gaza, allowing Palestinians to stay inside the enclave while that long process of clearing rubble and rebuilding gets underway. That in strong contrast to the Trump plan, which envisioned Palestinians being moved out to neighboring countries. That suggestion, of course, triggering widespread condemnation in the region and really across the world. Also under this plan, it envisions a Palestinian-led administration taking charge of the enclave, sidelining both Hamas and the Palestinian Authority, although we can expect both groups to really push back strongly against that suggestion. And finally, to pay for all of this, there is the idea of setting up an international conference which would raise the billions of dollars needed to start this work. According to the United Nations, the Israeli military has caused almost $50 billion worth of damage to Gaza's infrastructure and housing since the start of military operations inside the enclave. Giles Gibson for A News in Tel Aviv.
Well, joining me now from Tehran is the analyst and commentator Turaj Shiralilo. Turaj, many thanks for joining us. Give us your sense then of what's happening here. Supporters of the US-Israeli plan will see this as a positive move. They'll say a different approach, fresh thinking is needed to break the deadlock, and that relocation is preferable to unlivable conditions. Why does Iran feel that the US plan in Gaza is foolish?
I think Iran is not the only country that thinks so. The statesmen and public opinion in the Arab world, in the Islamic world, also the global community as a whole think so. And they have openly expressed their resentment and objection to such a plan about Gaza. The fact that Europe and other Western allies of the United States have kept mum, but deeply they are also objecting such a plan because they don't want to buy a resentment of the U.S. administration or the anger of Mr. Trump, is that they are also deeply objecting this plan. So Iran is not alone in this. Iran's position regarding Palestine, the issue of Palestine, is in a way unique. Iran does not recognize Israel and said that it supports a referendum or a plebeian in the occupied lands in Palestine. Therefore, it is not surprising that Tehran will not buy such a plan and will categorically reject Mr. Trump's plan regarding the future of Palestine.
Okay, let's move on to this visit then by the Emir of Qatar. What are Iran's priorities going to be for that discussion? What does Iran want to get out of this meeting?
Well, Iranian Foreign Minister Mr. Abbas Araghchi has said that Iran and Qatar will discuss bilateral issues. At the same time, Iranian ambassador in Doha has expressed and stated that deeply rooted bilateral relations will be on the agenda. But this is happening against a very, very historical background. First of all, Iran supported Doha when Qatar was under the sanctions of Arab countries. So this made the relations close. At the same time, Doha is playing a mediating role in the ongoing ceasefire negotiations between Hamas and between Israel. So this shows that these countries can do something, it can be in a state of give and take. They can support each other when it comes to the issues beyond the bilateral ties with regard to regional issues as well. And there are unconfirmed reports that Qatar will also mediate between Iran and the United States. But this is not something that we can hear from official media or from a spokesperson of the foreign ministry and relevant organizations. But this topic is also high on the agenda, on the media hype, as a media hype, that they will be the possibility that Emir of Qatar will try to mediate between Iran and the United States.
Torej, the other meeting that's being anticipated is, of course, with the Secretary General of the Palestinian Islamic Jihad movement. Give us a sense of why that meeting is so important.
First of all, it's a common practice that leaders of Palestinian groups and those that have adopted an anti-Israeli or anti-occupation policy keep visiting Iran. And this is not the first visit by Mr. Ziad Nakhala to Tehran. It seems that both Iran and the Islamic Jihad movement want to review or to recalibrate, reassess their policies with regard to the ongoing developments. First of all, the ceasefire negotiations, and at the same time, the new U.S. president's plan for the Gaza. And so they want to discuss again what they can do in the context of the ongoing developments and the emerging scenarios. Iran has supported Islamic Jihad movement because this Palestinian group and its armed resistance policy and its role in the Hamas war with Israel has been, in a way, within the policy of Iran's anti-Israel policy. So, and Iran has also expressed this policy for a long time. So, looking at the news emerging from the visits, from the meetings of Mr. Nakhala with Iranian dignitaries, shows that Iran has also expressed its long-term support and its continuation of the Palestinian group's support against Israeli occupation.
Now, this, of course, is Tehran's second situation where they're having to deal with the foreign policy agenda of President Trump. Give us the view from inside Iran. What is the perception of the Trump administration's foreign policy agenda?
So far, Iranians do not see any shift or any difference between Trump 1 foreign policy and Trump 2 foreign policy, and mostly regard Trump 2 as a continuation of his first administration when it comes to foreign policy issues. And the overall thinking in Iran also does not differentiate between a Republican president in office or a Democratic president in office, especially when it comes to the issue of Middle East or when it comes to the issue of Muslim countries. Therefore, in Iran, generally speaking, the same negative outlook regarding Mr. Trump 2's administration's foreign policy regarding this region can be noticed. And particularly, Iranian officials are against U.S. military presence in the region, the military bases. And they also stated and objected to U.S. occupation of Afghanistan, of Iraq, and also they have also kept the same policy regarding the United States blanket support to Israel and its anti-Palestinian policies. Generally speaking, Iran does not see any difference between Trump 1 and Trump 2. Neither does it see any difference between a democratic administration, that of Mr. Biden or Mr. Trump, especially when it comes to the Middle East.
Mr. Shahralilo, thank you very much for joining us and sharing your insights with us. Touraj Shahralilo there in Tehran. Well, that is all we have time for on this edition of News Hour. Please stay with A News for more news and analysis. And from all of us here in Baku, we wish you a very pleasant evening ahead.